the school beauty. In preparation for her role as a chemist in her new drama. Used connections to join our chemistry research group. I refused on the spot. The reason I gave was very simple. Chemical agents are very similar. Coupled with cautious usage. An explosion can easily occur if one is not careful. So outsiders are absolutely not allowed to use them randomly. But that night, the school beauty released a video of her painstakingly studying chemistry and accused me of bullying. I know that in your eyes I am just a vase. But just because of this, should all my efforts be rejected? My senior fellow apprentice supported the school beauty. Vicky is a very jealous person. It's normal for Joyce, who is so excellent, to be envied by her. Under their manipulation, I was kidnapped by Joyce's radical fans and brutally dismembered. Joyce, on the other hand, became an overnight success and became a powerful actress with both reputation and word of mouth. When I opened my eyes again, I was back on the day when the school beauty applied to join our chemistry research group. One I will definitely work hard with everyone and make progress together. My shoulder was pushed. I came to my senses. I didn't hear a single word of what Joyce had just said. I was just staring down at my own fingers. Slender and fair, with some thin calluses on the fingertips. Traces left by years of doing experiments and writing with a pen. Vicky, what do you say? In an instant, everyone's eyes were focused on me. I slowly raised my head and saw senior fellow apprentice Cyril and Joyce both waiting for me to reply. Before today, I had expressed my disagreement with Joyce joining the group twice. But today, the two of them came prepared. Clearly, they won't give up until they reach the Yellow River. Today, the two of them coincidentally wore clothes of the same color scheme. Joyce looks more like Cyril's girlfriend than I do, with self-evident confidence in her eyes. She looked at me and said, Vicky, are you silent because you don't agree with me joining the group? During this period of time, I have been studying hard and will definitely be able to keep up with everyone's rhythm. When I was in school, I also got full marks in chemistry. If you don't agree with me joining the group, I really need a reason. A few simple words put me on the hot seat. Before she came in today, there were 8 members in the laboratory group. She gave gifts to each person individually except for me. For these group members, it's just one more person to do odd jobs. They all happily accepted the gifts. If you want to find the feeling for acting, you can go to other safer groups. My indifferent and silent attitude made Cyril standing next to me frown slightly. Vivi, there's no need for you to disagree with Joyce joining the group, just because of being jealous. The Vivi I know is not like this. Yes, senior. Please agree. It's not easy for Joyce to get in. Yes. Senior Vicky. Girls should help girls. As long as someone is sincerely seeking knowledge, there's no need for us to reject others. I glanced around at the people present, filled with disappointment and relief. In my previous life, as the backbone of the laboratory, I did all the dangerous experiments personally and treated these people as considerately and friendly as possible. But in the end, what I got was their backstabbing. Before I died in my previous life, I always attributed all the mistakes to this pair of immoral people. But I ignored such a group of troublemakers. They are ungrateful white-eyed wolves. Such a group has been rotten to the core for a long time. I sneered and stood up. The white lab coat hung down on both sides. I said coldly, I haven't said anything yet. But you've all pinned the blame on me. The girl next to me, whom I had just helped solve the housing problem, guiltily pinched the new necklace on her neck. Senior, we're just telling the truth. I nodded. I believe in your sincerity. After all, everyone likes Joyce, since she is so generous. But what should we do? There are only 10 spots in our group. Now there are too many people. Cyril frowned. What excuse are you looking for now? I stared at him, and sneered. You're so concerned about her. People who don't know would think you two are a couple. I took off my work badge and casually threw it at Cyril. Don't be excited. I like being a good person the most. To fulfill the whole group's love for Joyce, I voluntarily withdraw from the group and give up my position. My peripheral vision swept over the equipment in the laboratory. Looking at dozens of indication stickers marked flammable and explosive. I had already offered a stick of incense for them in my heart. I want to see. In this life. Without my obstruction. When Joyce starts working. Can you still smile? Too, in my previous life. I was straightforward in character, and directly refused Joyce's request to join the group in public. The reason was very simple. Chemical experiments require strict and detailed proportions. Especially the project our group is responsible for contains many dangerous flammable and explosive materials. Chemical agents are very similar. Coupled with cautious usage, an explosion can easily occur if one is not careful. So outsiders are absolutely not allowed to use them randomly. But Joyce immediately put me on the internet and released an inspirational learning video that was more than 10 minutes long and contained hundreds of photos. And she secretly accused me of bullying. I know that in your eyes I am just a vase. But just because of this, should all my efforts be rejected? In this era where traffic is king, Joyce has accumulated many fans through beauty channels in 4 years of college. Most of these people have never understood the seriousness of chemical experiments. They all sent crazy letters of complaint to my school demanding that I be expelled. When I was actively facing cyber violence, Cyril, who was my boyfriend, directly jumped out and accused me. Vicky is a very jealous person. It's normal for Joyce, who is so excellent, to be envied by her. This sentence caused me huge trouble. Every day after work, someone would follow me, and things in my rental house were frequently stolen. I couldn't bear it anymore and found Cyril, only to discover that he had cheated on me long ago. Joyce was held in his arms and looked at me with a smirk. Don't blame others if you're not as good. You're so annoying. As the leader of a laboratory, you dared to act like a big shot in front of me. Now it's very difficult for you to graduate. Right? That night, I was kidnapped by her radical fans, dragged to a corner and brutally dismembered. Later, Joyce became extremely popular and became a so-called powerful actress with a double harvest of reputation and word of mouth. Although my parents are wealthy, in the face of my corpse, they lost their sanity. My mother was hit hard by my death and couldn't hold on for a few months before passing away. The remaining father has been insisting on seeking justice for me, and finally died in the harassment of Joyce's fans. The family factory also quickly closed down and went bankrupt due to malicious reports. Thinking of this, I logged into the computer and deleted all the documents I had sorted out before. Even the papers that were arranged at the beginning were all copied and taken away. But the files in the historical browsing were deliberately left. My plan has begun to be laid out, and the rest is just waiting for them to fall into my trap on their own. Cyril, don't think about stealing my achievements again. Joyce, don't think about having the chance to act in this play. 3. I just quit all the group chats in the group. As soon as I did that, Cyril called. I adhered to the principle that breaking up is indeed better to be said face to face and agreed to his request. When I arrived at the coffee shop, I saw Joyce standing beside him. Cyril had a cold face. This was his favorite move when he got angry before. Every time, I was the one who softened my attitude first and made up. I didn't respond and turned around and asked the waiter to pack it for me. Seeing that I didn't seem to be prepared to speak, Joyce nudged Cyril. Are you just going to leave like this? I thought you were mute. Who are you showing your face to by sitting there? I raised my eyebrows and continued. Are you a 3-year-old? Do you need someone to instruct you when doing things and speaking? Has anyone ever said that you are very childish? You. Joyce stopped Cyril. She looked like a little white flower. Senior, it's all my fault. I caused a misunderstanding between you two. I apologize to you. But Vicky, you can't be so selfish. The laboratory results belong to everyone. You can't take them away, even if you are the group leader. But the experiment was completed by everyone together. As soon as you leave without even saying hello, you directly delete all the source files and let everyone's efforts go to waste. People can't be so selfish. If other tutors know about your behavior, who would dare to take you? We are also doing this for your own good. I crossed my legs and watched this pair of immoral people accusing me seriously. I let it in one ear and out the other. Moral kidnapping? After experiencing the previous life, I no longer have morality. This useless thing. I sighed and looked at the coffee that the waiter had just packed. What a pity. I haven't had a sip yet and is about to be fed to pigs. In an instant, I threw the cup forcefully. The warm coffee splashed all over the immoral couple opposite. Joyce screamed and jumped away. The little hand that was just holding tightly was instantly separated. I motioned for the waiter to come over and stuffed several hundred yuan. Sorry. This is the cleaning fee for you. I got up gracefully and looked at Cyril, who was furious, and clicked my tongue. You can't make something out of someone who is hopeless. He stiffened for a moment. What do you mean? I smiled slightly and pointed at him and Joyce and said, it means that I don't want this piece of trash anymore. Trash is more suitable to be with the recycling plant. Before leaving, it seemed that I just remembered the important thing. I took out a red certificate from my pocket and flashed it in front of them. Oh. As for what you said about no one wanting me, you don't need to worry about that. Since I said I was quitting the group, several groups of people have contacted me. For I blocked and deleted all contact information related to Cyril. The next day, I joined a new experimental group. Coincidentally, because safety protection needs to be provided. Our new laboratory for this group is right next to the original one. Seeing me appear, a glimmer of hope appeared on Cyril's unshaven face. But I didn't even look at him, and pushed open the door and entered another laboratory. At the same time, Joyce also came to the laboratory after dressing up carefully. After seeing me, she glared at me and laughed mockingly. I thought you were so capable. It turns out that you still have to stay here after all. I said innocently, are you nearsighted? She frowned. What did you say? I knocked on the sign on the door panel. The new group members came up to me, asking if you are blind. Your group is next door. Coming to our group to show off. Are you out of your mind? Only then did Joyce realize. She turned her head abruptly and saw the sign of the neighboring group. She gritted her teeth and left. The sound insulation of the laboratory is good. After instructing the experiment, I finally came out of the immersive thinking state. The juniors and seniors in this group are also willing to endure hardships and are quick-witted. I remembered the pain of leading the neighboring group in the previous life and only sighed at my pure judgment in people. During the break to go to the toilet, I heard the noise from next door. I had no intention of paying attention to it again and directly walked away. But when I came back from the toilet, they had already run from inside to the door. A girl named Mia who had spoken for Joyce before now had her hands on her hips and looked extremely speechless. Joyce had 2 drops of tears hanging on her face, looking as if she was about to cry. Cyril stood in front of her. Senior brother. I don't care if she did it on purpose or not. But using my consumables is not allowed. Joyce, didn't you say that you have studied hard on your own? If you don't even know the most basic experiment, how can you carry out the next step of operation? Cyril saw that more and more people were gathering, and could only comfort her first. Let's go back and talk about it properly. Mia snorted. Senior brother. I admit that I lack the ability. You'd better teach her yourself. At this moment, Joyce also saw me standing outside watching the show. Vicky, if you have any dissatisfaction with me, you can just say it directly. There's no need to use such despicable means. Cyril and I are truly in love. No matter what you do, you won't be able to destroy our relationship. I chuckled and pretended to be about to vomit. Enough. Don't make excuses for your two's affair. Junior Joyce. There is only one reason why you are being targeted. Because you are useless. You waste manpower and material resources and just muddle along in the laboratory. You should have expected this result long ago. Right? What's wrong with wasting a little consumables at the beginning of the experiment? Who hasn't experienced that? Obviously. You incited the team members to deliberately me. I gave a middle finger. Don't blame the road for your own incompetence. 5. This turmoil was quickly quelled. And I also received an invitation from my tutor. The paper you wrote last time has been included in a key journal. Several of my friends want to get to know you. Come and have a casual meal tonight and get to know each other. I replied with a yes and continued with the experiment. In the evening, I wore a light green slim dress. When I went upstairs and asked the waiter for the box number, a familiar voice came from behind. What a coincidence. You are also here. I turned around and looked at Joyce and Cyril. This pair of immoral people. Looking at their arms intertwined, I raised an eyebrow. I don't remember our relationship being so close. Oh, it's my fault. I thought that since Vicky you were so concerned about those experiments before, you would very much want to know the results. She covered her mouth and chuckled. Under Cyril's leadership, our experiment is progressing very well. I have to say that it's the leader who plays a role. Otherwise, working under some useless people for a long time will lead to nowhere. No wonder there has been no movement these days. It turns out that she has such a bad reputation that she has started to act like a spendthrift again. I checked the time and it was almost time. I was about to leave, but Joyce took another step and blocked my way. Vicky, do you think I'm right? Just then, the other party's large group came upstairs. Several people were chatting and laughing. When they saw me, the smiles on their faces disappeared. Cyril and I brought them here today to celebrate and have a meal. Why don't you also come and participate? Although the result is not achieved by you, you still have put in some effort even if there is no credit. 10 people surrounded me neatly, especially those who were guilty before. Now that the experiment has a result, they suddenly feel that they are not wrong. Yes. Senior Vicky. You probably seldom come here to eat. The subsidy given by the tutor is not much. Why don't you come and have a meal together? Although it's not your result, you still have put in some effort. After saying that, a girl covered her mouth and looked back and forth between me and Cyril. Senior Vicky. Could it be that you can't let go of Senior Cyril? So you followed all the way here and even put on makeup and waited on the second floor? The more she said, the more she felt that her words were credible. There was a disappointed look on her face. Senior, since we have broken up, we should all be more decent. I rolled my eyes. What kind of meal is made of gold? Can't I come and eat by myself? By yourself? It seemed as if she had heard something funny. Do you know that a table here costs several thousand yuan? If you come and eat by yourself, how many times can your little subsidy afford in a year? I tilted my head and looked at Cyril. Ex-boyfriend. Tell me if I can afford it? Although my family is not extremely wealthy, we still own several factories. The annual profit is tens of millions. Cyril didn't spend a penny during our relationship. He even gave me a watch worth more than 100,000 yuan on my birthday before. But Cyril is a person with strong self-esteem. When he spends your money, he still has to find excuses for himself. Commonly known as eating soft rice but acting tough. Cyril turned his face to the side. Vicky, don't be unreasonable. Since we have broken up, we should keep a distance. All right. Since Cyril has said so. Vicky, I was wondering why you haven't come in yet. It turns out that you were chatting with others. Joyce was a little unhappy to be interrupted. But when she turned around and saw who it was, she instantly shut up. The person who came was my tutor. Also a famous big shot in the professional field. He looked at this group of people who seemed unfriendly. I just heard you say that the experiment has a result. Tell me about it? Joyce was just using the tiger's skin to make a big show. Under the tutor's questions, she was sweating profusely. You young people still need to learn more. Just like Vicky, whose paper was included in a key journal, and can graduate early. You should also work hard. What? How is it possible? Why is it impossible? I can see this girl clearly. She is flexible-minded and has strong research ability. You still have a lot to learn. I walked through the middle gracefully. Now no one dared to block my way again. After having the meal and returning home, I logged into my account and saw several abnormal login records. I smiled faintly. This is what you brought upon yourselves. If there is a problem, don't blame me. 6. Perhaps it was the last meal that hurt the poor self-esteem of the neighboring group. In the following time, no matter whether I was eating, in the toilet, or exercising, I could always hear someone from the neighboring group deliberately telling me that today's experiment has taken another step forward. In just half a month, the neighboring group claimed to have obtained experimental data, which is a great leap forward in decades. The junior girl made a cup of coffee and put it in front of me. Just because the experiment is successful. What's the difference between this and popping champagne halfway before the final publication? Then she looked at me. Senior, you know that Joyce has been making veiled remarks about you on social media all day long? I turned a page of literature and nodded calmly. I know. I even give her likes every day. The junior girl gave me a thumbs up. I really admire your composure. What's there to admire? The people next door are advancing rapidly like winning the lottery. That's real ability. Can't be envious. Envious? I curled up the corner of my mouth. Didn't Cyril assume that even if I caught him stealing my previous experimental data, I would have no evidence to prove it? But he would never know that this is lifting a rock, only to drop it on his own feet. The junior female student scratched her head and didn't quite catch my profound meaning. I chuckled. Experimental results can be good or bad. But if the direction is all wrong, then the problem is huge. 7. Joyce's experimental group achieved results. She couldn't restrain herself and posted the news online. Subsequently, the official Weibo account of the TV drama she collaborated with openly hyped it up on Weibo. For a while, Joyce was extremely glorious. There were also many fans squatting near the laboratory waiting for autographs. My sister is really awesome. I've been bad at chemistry since I was young. I've always admired those with quick minds. The mind does turn quickly. But, unfortunately, it's devious. What if there is one more intelligent person like me in this world? I'm super looking forward to my sister's new drama. I heard that my sister actually took the postgraduate entrance examination to experience the life of an experimental group. I admire her so much. Capable people can shine in any field. Normal people are not recommended to learn. Because interdisciplinary majors are very professional. And you may not know anything when you enter. Joyce thanked these blessings on Weibo and became a little popular under marketing. On this day, the school's interview program discovered the so-called new star and said they would come to shoot an interview material. She posted a preview on her own Weibo. Early in the morning, many people climbed over the wall and peeked through the windows. At first, Joyce had a firm grasp on the questions. Fluent and smooth without losing courtesy. It can be seen that she has prepared a lot in private for a long time. When the questions were over and Joyce was about to leave, the interviewer pulled her and put forward another request. Do an experiment? I couldn't help but sneer. Joyce hasn't done an experiment by herself since she joined the group. Most of them were completed with the help of group members. But the interviewer said they needed materials and it was not easy to refuse. Joyce could only put on a lab coat reluctantly and start nervously preparing reagents. I watched her pour the wrong reagent into the reagent bottle and subconsciously took a step back. In less than 2 seconds, the bottle in Joyce's hand produced a dazzling flame, and then directly burst into flames. She was startled and actually threw it directly at Mia, a group member who had quarreled with her before. Everyone watched her actions in astonishment. Mia raised her arm and blocked with her hand. The bottle broke and fell on the table. Cyril on the side had a bad premonition and immediately wanted to take action to save the situation. But it was too late. The reagents on the table quickly started to burn. Mia beside was licked by the flames. After a scream, she fell to the ground and covered her face and cried heartbreakably, "My face! My face! It hurts so much! It hurts so much! Please save me!" Hearing the cry for help, Joyce subconsciously took the wahaha next to her and poured it on. As a result, the fire didn't go out but burned even more fiercely. Because of the particularity of chemicals, Just using water can't dilute the toxicity. I frowned and immediately rushed forward. There was still a possibility of explosion around. I quickly started to prepare the potion and wrapped the girl's hands with a towel to take her out of the sea of fire. At a moment when I didn't realize it, many live streaming mobile phones had been set up outside. My every move was on social networking sites like this. The heat also rose rapidly. At Joyce fakes Joyce's experiment fails, girl saves people and bravely rushes into the sea of fire. When we arrived at the hospital, after the doctor examined, he praised that my treatment was very timely. There was little possibility of poisoning on the face and leaving scars. But Mia's eyeball was scratched by the exploded glass shards. The whole person trembled and covered her face with a lingering fear. I accompanied her and waited for her parents to arrive. Tears were reflected on the tightly wrapped bandage on Mia. I'm sorry. I'm so scared. I shouldn't have listened to Cyril's words and excluded you. I crossed my legs. Forget it. Your exclusion of me is your illusion. I just let your opinions go like farts. Don't cry. Your tears can't do anything. It's better to get better quickly and deal with those who hurt you. When Mia's family arrived and took over and I walked out of the hospital, my phone kept ringing. Sister Vicky. Quickly look at the hot searches on your phone. What should we do? They have put all the blame on you. I frowned and opened the hot search and saw a big red title. The account shown in the live broadcast above was exactly Joyce's main account. In the video, Joyce took out a very blurry photo of me, sitting in front of Mia's hospital bed. It should have been secretly taken not long ago. Joyce covered her face and cried bitterly. I don't know why they are targeting me. From the very beginning, Vicky had obvious hostility towards me and wouldn't let me touch those instruments. I think as a newcomer, I should learn and do more. Later, she directly took the achievement paper and switched jobs. After our group barely survived, she tampered with our reagents again. I didn't react at that time, but Vicky clearly knew how to operate. Yet she waited for so long. Damn. So vicious. I just said, how could Joyce be so careless as to prepare the wrong reagent? Oh my god. This Vicky doesn't look very good looking either. For the sake of being popular, she burned another girl's face. Such a person doesn't deserve to study in such a high-level institution at all. I will report her. It's really too much. Joyce sorted out her emotions in the video again. Tears sparkled in her eyes and she looked stubborn. We won't let this go so easily. This matter will definitely be traced to the end. I do have responsibility for the injury of the corresponding group member. I will also actively take on my obligation to help her return to her post. Heaven. My elder sister is really so kind. I'm moved to tears. There are still people maliciously framing such a girl. I really can't stand it. Some so-called enthusiastic netizens exposed my phone number. For a moment, my phone even crashed directly. I looked at my phone coldly and snorted. Fast enough. Since you can't wait to court death, then I might as well send you on your way earlier. 9. At this critical juncture, the crew is still seizing the opportunity to continue hyping. The name Vicky is also hanging high on the hot search list. But they don't know that at least this is making a wedding dress for me. I first sent a Weibo post. Are you a graduate student at our school? I don't know. Isn't it right that you are not allowed to touch the instrument if you haven't learned it? Below are also several admission announcements in recent years as gifts. Did you change your name or am I illiterate? Why didn't I see your name? Oh my god. I'm really convinced. Does this count as reversal after reversal? I am a graduate student. Even the undergraduates who assist our tutor in our major are required to be in this major. Am I the only one who has found the problem? Since you are not qualified to touch the instrument in the laboratory, how can you come to the conclusion that you lead the team members to discover the result? Yes. Since you are not familiar with it, why do you operate it by yourself? More and more people on the internet are paying attention to this matter. I also thoughtfully attached a 15-page PDF file. It lists Joyce's life trajectory in the past year. Having morning tea in Guangzhou today and watching the sunset in Qingdao tomorrow evening. I marked it in big red words on it. When exactly did your serious studies start? I have never seen such a genius. Joyce. You deceived me so badly. I even went to scold others for you. Your timeline in the second half of the year doesn't look like someone who has reviewed it all. How could you possibly be admitted to graduate school? In response, Joyce seemed to have a mental breakdown and actually replied below, I never said I was a graduate student. I laughed and slapped my thigh. I went to the laboratory as usual to participate in the experiment. When my team members saw me, they all gave me a thumbs up. At noon for lunch. As soon as I went out, I saw the unkempt Cyril. I remained expressionless and wanted to pass by in a straight line beside him. But Cyril blocked me in front of me. Wait a minute. I have something to find you. I looked at him with a half smile and said after a long while, Why? Don't you pay attention to avoiding suspicion now? Oh. Right. I forgot. You and Joyce are one who is addicted to being a mistress, and the other who is deeply in love and cheats. One shows deep affection for love through cheating. You won't come to me to get back together. Will you? I won't agree. Oh, you are so dirty. Cyril's face turned green, and then white. Enough. Vicky. You are just looking for Joyce's trouble because you want to take revenge on me. Just think of it as me begging you. Can you stop being unreasonable and let her go? Joyce has been preparing for this role for a long time. She can't be affected by these things. Will destroying a person make you happier? I sneered and headed for the cafeteria. Cyril. Originally I just thought Joyce was thick-skinned enough. Now I find that you are even better. You two are a perfect match, like a bad pot with a bad lid. Her hurting others is the truth. Cheating and being a mistress is the truth. Being ignorant is the truth. Tell me, where is she wronged? Also, you should consider yourself first before helping others. Cyril was stunned for a moment, frowned and asked, What do you mean? I turned back. With a smile on my face and a contemptuous tone. Your thesis data all fake. You illegally put Joyce's name as the second author. Once the report letter is sent out, the college will soon find out your academic misconduct. Impossible. How can the experimental data be fake? That's obviously you. Cyril suddenly realized and his lips trembled with some collapse involuntarily. It's you. You deliberately set a trap for me. You deliberately didn't change the password and let us take away the experimental data and continue. How can you be so vicious? I shrugged innocently. Looking naive. Oh. Cyril. At that time, everyone knew that I had deleted the experimental data. Now you can't defend yourself. You say I set a trap. Do you have evidence? I stared into his eyes and my tone turned cold. I am vicious. Why didn't you think you were vicious when you took away the data privately? However, considering that we have been in a relationship for so long, I'll show you a clear way. My voice became somewhat tempting. As long as you claim first that Joyce modified your experimental data for hype, you will be safe. A drop of cold sweat flowed down Cyril's temple. How can I do this? I leaned close to his ear. Why can't you? Think about it. In order to be admitted to this graduate school, it is almost everything for you in the future. If academic fraud is found, being is still a light punishment. Your whole life will be ruined. But it's different for Joyce. As long as she is not found with major problems, she can sell miserably again. In the future, when you are of no use, she will break up with you immediately. I twirled the sun umbrella in my hand, obviously in a good mood. Or you think your love is thicker than the city wall. Maybe you can take a gamble. But think it over clearly. Now there is still a burned Mia in the hospital who hasn't been treated. When she recovers and sees Joyce who hurt her is still fine, I can't guarantee what she will do. At this moment, Cyril's phone rang. Inside, Joyce's voice was tentative and sweet. Is the matter handled? Cyril? You have to help me. The production team said that as long as that Vicky doesn't talk nonsense, the heat will soon die down. Then I saw Cyril swallow. It's done. Don't worry. After making the call, Cyril seemed to have lost all his energy. He turned and left with unsteady steps. My steps towards the cafeteria became even lighter. Mind your own business and stay aloof. But if it's related to one's own interests, it's a different story. 77 Cyril was very fast. That afternoon, the dean called the members who had done the experiment together at the beginning. When they came out again, several people looked pale, and there was resentment in their eyes when they looked at Cyril. You two did it on purpose. If I can't graduate, I won't let you go. Senior brother, you can do it. You change a girlfriend and it costs us our lives? I was listening to the noise outside in the neighboring laboratory. A junior female student came close to my ear and gossiped. Why did they suddenly start arguing? I shook my head. I don't know. Maybe it's like dogs biting each other. In the afternoon, I received a push notification on my phone. The big words Joyce's academic fraud and a graduate student from S University confesses fraud were all on the hot search. Several people directly released the surveillance video of Joyce in the laboratory before. At the beginning of the video are several big words: Junior Sister Joyce. Is your experimental data produced just by sitting with crossed legs and putting on makeup? I let out a cry and thought this person had some talent to be a marketing account. Netizens were directly enraged. Now it can be considered conclusive evidence that Joyce has no scientific research ability. While we were happily eating melons, there was a violent quarrel coming from next to the door. When you accepted my gifts at the beginning, why didn't you say I had no scientific research ability? Now you're turning against me and I won't let you go. Coincidentally, the sound of mobile phone push notifications rang again. The production team that had been frantically hyping up before announced the cancellation of cooperation with Joyce. Her own account also lost a large number of fans because of this incident. She received countless scoldings on the IBO. The healthcare product endorsement she had cooperated with before also threatened to sue her. Joyce stood at the door of the laboratory, slapping the door and cursing. There were dark circles under her eyes. Obviously she hadn't slept for several days. But what's even more infuriating is still to come. One of the girls directly took off her necklace and threw it to Joyce in front of her. It's just a necklace. I shouldn't have agreed to let you join the group in the first place. Senior Sister Vicky laid us very well. Since you came, our experiment has not progressed. You also took the lead in faking with Cyril. What bad luck. I looked at Joyce sitting on the ground wiping tears and sneered inwardly. How can a white-eyed wolf be tamed? From the day you bribed them, you should have known that they can betray me and naturally they can betray you too. 12 Joyce cried enough and turned to see the people in our laboratory. Anger rose in her heart. Vicky, get out here. All of this is your doing. Get out here. You bitch. Seeing that the door didn't open, she ran to the office window. The junior male student nearby quickly closed the window the moment she reached out. Joyce let out a scream and covered her hand. I smiled brightly through the window. We're not familiar. Don't casually claim a relationship. Her gaze at me was full of malice. But I just took out my phone and showed her the number 110 on it and then pointed behind her. The moment Joyce saw the police, her face instantly turned deathly pale. Ms. Meng, right? Someone reported that you are evading taxes while mixing genuine and fake goods for sale. Please come with us and cooperate with the investigation. Once sued, Joyce not only has to go to jail, but also has to pay a huge amount of compensation. Joyce was handcuffed, looking incredulous. It's impossible. I didn't do it. Believe me. I didn't do these things. The police took us away to record statements. While waiting at the police station, I saw Cyril come in hurriedly. Joyce, who was sitting originally, flew into a rage the moment she saw him and grabbed his hair without letting go for a moment. I know it's you who did it. You beast. I've been so good to you. Since being with you, you haven't spent a penny on all expenses. Now you actually report me for that bitch Vicky. Cyril turned his head to one side and didn't want to look at her. I just did what I think I should do. Joyce stared at him blankly and his matter-of-course expression. Then she burst out laughing. I blame myself for being unlucky to trust such a bastard like you. Did I do something wrong? You modified my experimental data. So I exposed your crime. What's wrong with me? Joyce suddenly realized. It was you on purpose. Clearly it was you who said that you stole Vicky's experimental data. As long as we drive her away, we can enjoy the fruits of her labor. Now you actually accuse me of data? She was so angry that she directly put her hands around Cyril's neck. The two started fighting in the police station. I stood behind and watched both of them get arrested. Then I left the police station with light steps. After being spread by Busboides, the college was under pressure and expelled both of them from school. The neighboring experimental group lost its backbone. Every day, they waited at the door of my laboratory, hoping that I could take over this mess. I casually swung my work permit in front of them. You said I was incompetent. I won't participate in your cross-era experiment. It's just a pity that this time probably no one will invite you to eat again. After Mia was successfully discharged from the hospital, she sued Joyce in court. Cyril was acquitted due to lack of solid evidence. However, his reputation in the college was already irreparable. Even people in the same experimental group looked down on him. I led the team to achieve success in a new scientific research direction and won another medal for myself. At the celebration banquet, junior colleagues raised their glasses to celebrate for me. When most people had almost left, a junior schoolmate came over with a gossipy look. Senior, do you still remember Cyril? He's in big trouble. I hadn't paid attention to his movements for a long time. Then the junior schoolmate continued. I heard that he was postponed for graduation because he offended his tutor. His girlfriend Joyce, who was previously in a relationship with him, was released on bail due to mental problems. As a result, she jumped out of the window and ran away while being treated in the hospital. I don't know where she found out Cyril's whereabouts. After following him home, she splashed sulfuric acid on his face. When he was found, it is said that his bones were almost rotted away. People who were previously involved with Joyce now regret it to death, and have been severely criticized by netizens. She shuddered. Fortunately, you broke up with Cyril back then. These two people are really extreme. I smiled slightly and raised my glass to signal a toast. However, no matter what their endings are, it has nothing to do with us anymore, right? I drank up the wine in my glass in one gulp and casually broke the SIM card that I used to send messages to Joyce. I remained low-key after achieving great things. Did Cyril think that he could escape and start a new life? Little did he know that retribution is not absent. It's just that the time hasn't come.